For our discussion this morning, I wanted to do something a little different. This definitely won't be the most scholarly discussion in the world. It may be more of a town hall in a way format. If you're with us online, then I really want to encourage those of you who are online to participate in this discussion and enter your comments into the chat box. Brenda is going to be in the back reading your comments. She will have a phone so she can read those comments, and the rest of us will be able to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to go and bring that back to her right now. As soon as I find my mask. Since I don't want to hold us up, can somebody else willing to go get the music stand mic, please bring that to Brenda? Thank you, Josh. As I mentioned earlier, this week's Parsha talks about the construction of the Mishkan, which is our original sanctuary. It was the first house of God. It was a portable house for Hashem. Although people didn't all come to pray in it, it was much smaller and more exclusive than that. It was God's first house, it says. The Torah teaches us that when the Israelites first reached the Promised Land, they would eventually, when the time was right, build a permanent dwelling for Hashem. But there was no longer a need for the Mishkan at that time. So when Solomon built that temple, they didn't need the Mishkan anymore. Similarly, for Jews living in America, it's expected that if you still care about attending shul these days, then you will either move to a neighborhood that has a shul you like, or you will be willing to drive a little bit to get to the shul you like. But of course, the pandemic changed all that, didn't it? People's ideas and perspectives on the permanence of sanctuaries have changed. When people weren't able to gather in person anymore, they moved online. Being online had its drawbacks. It also had its advantages. Some people preferred it that way, and some still do prefer it that way. But that was the height of the pandemic. When we moved online, most people assumed that when it was safe to be in person, we would never have to be online again. For the most part, that hasn't been true. We choose to still be online because we want to. The phase we've entered now is what I like to call the new normal. With the new normal, many synagogues have had to try to strike a balance. They don't want to abandon their portable sanctuary, which is what I like to call the virtual sanctuary, but they also don't want to neglect their physical sanctuary now that we can gather in person again, many of us. At the synagogue where I teach Hebrew school, the rabbi confided to me earlier this year that the board at that temple, they call it a temple, was unhappy with the High Holy Day attendance this year. The problem wasn't... There seems to be something going on outside, that's okay. The problem wasn't at this temple that they were unhappy with the High Holy Day attendance because nobody went to services. The problem, they told me, was that although the attendance was about the same as usual, maybe even a little higher, less than half of them showed up in person. The majority were online. They felt that because so few people came in person, the in-person experience for those who were in person, to them, felt less vibrant and less communal than usual. And I understand where they're coming from. As a member of the clergy team, I'm always happy to see as many faces as we can in the physical sanctuary. But I also felt like their desire to pack people into the seats kept them from considering the other side of the equation. I don't think they fully appreciated the benefits of the portable/virtual sanctuary. So now I want to ask you, now that we are back, many of us anyway, in our physical sanctuary again, and we have been for some time actually, why do you think some people still choose to attend virtually? And especially if you're online today, we want to hear your voice. Bill.
Because of not driving at night or not driving. Some types of illnesses may prevent them from coming.
Driving at night. can be a challenge for some people that we just don't want to do. It can be difficult. It can be scary even for some people. And some people might be too ill to attend services in person. Those are great answers. Josh.
So, I mean, COVID isn't really over.
It's not. COVID is not over.
If it were a more crowded congregation, I don't know that I would be comfortable coming in person. It's like, I feel comfortable because it can maintain, a fair bit of distance still. And
Wow, what an answer.
I think that we haven't, the pandemic isn't over, so it's perfectly reasonable to want to be online or maintain distance. If you go to a synagogue that's blessed with a very large congregation, I should see not being comfortable showing up.
Right. Josh says that,
Especially if there's still.
yes, Josh says the pandemic is not over. And it makes perfect sense to not want to have to be around a lot of people. And that if this were a more crowded congregation, maybe he wouldn't feel comfortable coming in person. And he says it makes perfect sense if you still want to come online. I want to call on Troy, but first, Brenda, do we have any comments in the chat box?
Yes, we do. The internet allows me to be places I cannot physically attend, yet emotionally I can attend.
Thank you. Brenda, who made that comment?
Joel,
Joel says
Gordon.
the internet allows him to be places that he can't physically be. And for those who know Joel and his situation, he doesn't live anywhere near here. And we're so glad he's part of our shul. The internet allows him to do that. Any more, Brenda?
yeah, Fran says, because
Health issues. Imagine if you're so sick you can't come to shul. Thank goodness the internet allows you to do that. Troy.
You don't have to, assuming you're not. You don't have to get out of your pajamas.
You don't have to get out of your pajamas. Yes, that's true. And I do believe there is a value in dressing up for shul, even when you're online. But as someone who also has to attend a lot of meetings on Zoom, maybe those are times when I don't get so dressed up. There's something nice about not having to get dressed up all the time. And then you can decide for yourself, based on the moment and what it demands of you, if it's appropriate to dress up or not. We don't want to be lazy, but we also recognize that if people aren't going to see us, maybe there's a little bit less need than usual, depending on how you feel. Wonderful. Let's move to the next one. I think that we are a very special congregation, and part of it is that we're small, like Josh said. What is your favorite thing about an HaYam service? And do you feel that that element of the service is better online, better experienced in person, or is it something that can be felt equally powerfully no matter where you are? Esther. You can't have a big discussion in a big synagogue. You can, I've seen it done, but it's messy, and I gotta tell you, it's not always good. Esther is absolutely right about that.
And as long as your internet has a chat function, you can't have discussion online. It works. It's just the size of the group.
Yes, internet allows us to have better conversations, and no matter what, the smaller the group, the more intimate the conversation is. Absolutely. Troy.
In other congregations where I feel anonymous worship, more like a spectator event. The community, especially because we're so small, I feel great to be here because I want to make a community.
Yes, we are a small congregation. Oftentimes, every person counts. You don't know. You might be the person we need for a minyan. And even if we have more than enough for a minyan, We certainly do today. Sometimes it's nice to go, as they say, where everybody knows your name. Not always true at a bigger place. Brenda, some chat box people, and then we'll go to Phil.
Joel adds, it's always better to taste the soup than to look at a picture of the soup.
Mm. Beautiful. Phil.
We can physically, large congregation, you don't have, it's all rabbi and cantor.
Right. And I hope we're noticing that the things that we seem to like best are not lessened by being in person or by being online. And actually, some people might say that online is even better if you can see people's faces all the time. It's nice that we have both, for sure. Now I want to ask, has a lot of synagogues are dealing with pressure since the pandemic because people have stopped coming or stopped paying dues, and it's harder to pay the bills. And some people feel, and I'm not talking about this temple, but synagogues in general, some people feel that the pandemic has made things a lot worse for synagogues. Do you believe that since the pandemic began, HaYam's culture has become stronger or weaker? And why would you say that? This might be a contentious topic, so please remember where we are. We're going to do it respectfully. The classes.
All the different ways of looking at things. We're not just Friday and Saturday.
Yes, the pandemic forced us to think about new ways to engage people. And we've really ramped up our classes. We're no longer, it seems, a Friday and Saturday only synagogue. It sounds like we did probably have classes before I got here, but my understanding is that we've done a lot more of it. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And a big thank you to Fran, if you're watching, for leading that initiative. And to Rabbi and to everybody who teaches a class. Andrea, thank you, Phil. Anybody else? I will say that I wasn't here that long before the pandemic started, but I cannot imagine a warmer place. And I don't think that our synagogue has suffered some of those same problems of engagement as other synagogues. And I think it's a testament to HaYam that when the going got tough and people couldn't come in person anymore, I think our engagement went up. That's so special. Eva, what did you say, Eva? Did you want to say something? Phil?
I was just wondering, all the anti.
Does anti-Semitism keep people home?
Synagogues, all the hate that's going on. I don't know. It's possible that may also.
Do people feel afraid to go to shul because of possible anti-Semitic violence? You don't know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. That's a fair point. Those sort of actions, however rare, have certainly increased. And it's a fair thing to be worried about. And that's why we're so glad that we have safety protocols. So I know this was an unusual discussion, but I want to thank you for being a part of it. In the Torah, they had the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary. It didn't have a fixed location. When they had their fixed site in Jerusalem, they had to force everybody from all around the country to gather in one location during the holidays. Each version, portable and fixed, had its advantages. In 2023, I like to think that we've learned from both of these models. We don't have to have it be an either-or scenario, because unlike in the Torah, we don't have to pick just one or the other. One does not negate the other. I'm glad that we can learn to have both. We have a comment, Brenda?
Yeah, I have. Joel has added, if you look for excuses, then.
If we look for excuses, then
Well,
dot,
from
dot,
what
dot.
you just said before. If you
Is
look
that
for
is that a
excuses,
comment to
then
Phil's
you
comment?
don't come.
Yes, there are different reactions to anti-Semitic events and how you want to respond to them. In any case, how we choose to worship, it's beautiful to have a choice. In the Torah, it didn't. It was one or the other. And it's just so wonderful to be able to recognize the good that comes with being in person and the good that comes with being online, and to not have to reject one to have the other. And with that, we're going to take a moment before we return the Torah to bless the incoming month, the month of Nisan.